Namashrestam manamapi Shachiputram atra surupam Rupam tasyagrajamurim maturim koshtuatim Radha-kundam girivaram ahoradikam madhvasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Guru Tam natosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadyavyats Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Apurada Lakshe Jivtascha Kahamaritaram Kamahade Kripa Mahitvam Shanam Brapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Govinda Damotaram Madhaveti Govinda Damotaram Madhaveti Govinda Damotaram Madhaveti Govinda Damotaram Madhaveti Everyone. Hey Krishna, Hey Yadava, Hey Saketi Govinda Damodara Madhaveti Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikar Smaraha Smurali Manara Radhikaras Kamama Kripa Nidhe Supriya Charna King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Najivami Tayabana Jivikaya Devi Tam Namam Charantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipful spiritual Gurudev, Asmadiya Paramarada Tama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Ashtotarasata Sri Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vancha Kalpatarubhasti, Kripasundabhyo, Paditaram Pavanim Vaishnavibhyo.
Shri Gurudev ki jai.
By the cautious mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we are assembled here now for the 5th day in the lap of Giriraj Govardhan to hear the subject, how to enter into bhajan, especially through the medium of the Aprakrita Kavyā, divine, transcendental, supernatural poetry of Paramarasik Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. Etech angsa kalapungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All the various avatars and incarnations which have been described in Shastra, they are all the portions and plenary portions of the Purush, Garbhatakashai Vishnu. They appear through him. But Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the origin of all. Bhagavan Swayam means Ananya Pekshiyad Rupam Swayam Rupas Uchate. That form of the Supreme Lord, who does not depend on any other form for his Aishwarya or his Madhurya. If there is any Aishwarya, opulence, or any Madhurya in any other form, it comes from Krishna originally. He is the Advaigyan Paratattva, non-dual, supreme conscious reality. Advai means Sat. No duality. That means no distinction, no division of past, present and future in him. So he's Sat, he's eternal. Advai Gyan. Gyan means Chit. He is the Adhistatri Devata of Sambit Shakti, the potency of awareness. He is like the sun. No one can see the sun by their own power. One can only see the sun by the sun's own power when he reveals himself. So there's no way to know God, there's no way to see God, unless and until he bestows his Sambit Shakti on a living entity, and then he becomes the Swayam Prakash, self-manifested to that soul. Otherwise, no one can know him. And Tattva, Advaya Gyan, Tattva, Paratattva. Tattva indicates the supreme Prayojan. That is, everyone is looking for joy, Ananda. So Advaya Gyan Paratattva also indicates that Sri Krishna is Sachidananda Vigraha. This, the Ananda in Sri Krishna, when it is in his Swarup, then it's called Swarupananda. Krishna feels great joy in his own Swarup. It's called Swarupananda. But when that same Ananda, that Hladini Vritti, the pleasure-giving function of Sri Krishna's energy, manifests outside, then it gives him another kind of happiness that is called Swarup Shakti-ananda. Example is given in the Puranas that if you are breathing, then just breathing, it gives some happiness. But if you take a flute and blow the same breath in the flute, now attains Vaichitrata, astonishing varieties. Now it becomes music, and this music, it can make you laugh, it can make you dance, it can make you weep and feel so many emotions that breath that was just within you, it could not produce. So in the same way, though the Hladini Shakti of Sri Krishna, it's his own Shakti, but when it's manifest, we cannot say separate because it's non-dual, but with the separation which is tolerated by oneness, when it is manifested beyond his own Swarup, then that Hladini Shakti gives more happiness, such joy that Krishna, he cannot live without it. He craves that. He's hungry for that. So when that Hladini Vritti is manifest in the hearts of his devotees, then it is attractive to Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna comes under the control of the love of his devotees. So that love, that Hladini Vritti, which is in the devotee, this is called amurt. Amurt. It does not have form. Cannot see it. But when it is visible fully, then Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Hladini Shakti Rasmad. Ekatmanavapi Bhuvipura Dehbedam Gototo. Hladini-rasa Prem. Prema-sara bhav. Bhava Paramakasta. Nama Mahabhava. Hladini, the essence of this pleasure-giving potency, Hladini, is called Prem. And the essence of Prem is, it condenses Prem, Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag. And it becomes Bhav here. Actually, Bhav, Mahabhav, they are used interchangeably in Ujjvala-Nilamani and a Goswami's writings. No, Jiva Goswami comments. It depends on the context. You see the word bhav in the context of the ragatmik prem. After anurag, it means mahabhav. So here, the essence of prem is mahabhav. Mahabhav swarupa Sri Radha Thakurani Sarva Guna Kani Krishna Kanta Shiramani. And this Swarup, the very embodiment, the Mahabhav Swarup of Mahabhav, that is Radha Thakurani. She is Sarva Guna Kani, the deep mine of the jewels of all virtues, the highest virtues. Sarvakanta Shiramani. And she is the crushed jewel of all Sri Krishna's beloveds. So this is Radha Tattva in a general outline. Yadyapi nirmala radha sat prema darpan tatapi swachatatar barekshanekshan. Sri Krishna, he was contemplating that the heart of Radhika is like a mirror. And it's nirmal, it's completely pure. But though the heart of Radhika is completely pure, the mirror of a heart which is full of love, but still, kshanekshan, at every second, it's swachata. The swachata, the clarity of it increases. What's the first quality of the chitta? Swachatvam, avikaritvam. The more the swachata is there, the more you can have the vision of Sri Krishna. So here, many of the things that you learn on the very basic level about chitta, about pran, about all of these things, it's necessary because you'll need them when we go to the postgraduate study. Otherwise, nothing will make sense there. So, the swachata, the purity of the mirror of our heart, increases at every moment. And because of this, the reflection of Sri Krishna that she sees in her heart becomes more and more beautiful. So Sri Krishna said, my beauty is all-pervading. It has no room to increase. But Man madhurya radha prema dui hod kari shane kshane pare duhe keho nahi hari. My sweetness and Radharani's prem, when Radharani sees me, then seeing my beauty, the mirror of her heart, Sat Prema Darpan, is becoming brighter and brighter, and in that mirror I become sweeter and sweeter. Seeing my sweetness, then her heart becomes brighter and brighter, and I become sweeter and sweeter. With the result that Dui Hondokore. We were discussing the other day about Brajaniti. In Brajaniti, what is it? Competition. Always competition is there. Krishna and the cowboys are competing. Krishna and the gopis are competing. Even the Radha Krishna's parrots are competing with each other, quarreling with each other. Here, even Prem is competing. Radhika's Prem and Krishna's Madhurya are in a competition. And Keho Nahi Hari means no one will accept defeat. Prema path ki sabi bat sabasar ke hota hai. All the weights on the path of love are 1/4 heavier than the others. So, Radha's Prem increases, Krishna's sweetness increases, Radhika's Prem increases, Krishna's sweetness increases, and it goes unlimited. It's inconceivable. So see, Krishna himself has admitted, Radhikara Prema Guru Ami Sishanat Sada Amanana Nritte Nachaya Udbhat. The Prem of Srimati Radhika is my Guru. So just as the disciple is very obedient to Sri Guru, just as the disciple is astonished and always learning newer and newer things from Sri Guru, so in the same way, Krishna at every moment is astonished by the love of Radhika. Though he is from the point of view of Tattva, the Adhistatvi Devata of Samvit Shakti. When this Samvit is mixed with Ladini Shakti, then it produces many things that Krishna himself, he does not know. And he's learning something new at every moment. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he commented on this verse. He said, you know that Krishna is Sarva Shaktiman. He has all potency. Krishna is Sukha Paripurn, completely filled with happiness. See, Krishna is Satya Swarup. He has eternal, unchanging form. And he is Nitya Jnanamoy. He is made of eternal consciousness and eternal knowledge. But we were discussing, the Brajaniti is what? Full of Viruddha Dharma, filled with contradictions. So Krishna, when he said, Radhika's Prem is my Guru, Krishna was thinking, although I am all-powerful, still, the power of Radhika's love makes me sneak out from my house at night. And I go through the forest, through Terakadamba, and I arrive in a garden very close to Jyotila Haveli in Yavat. But I'm afraid to go in. How can the person who is omnipotent, all-powerful, be afraid? I'm afraid to go in. So then I hide in some bushes there and go, ooh, ooh. Radharani is inside. Oh, that sound. That is not a bird. Krishna is nearby. Then Radhika, she gets up from bed and she goes to the door, and as she's moving the bolt on the door, then her bangles jingle together. And just at some distance, Jyotila is sleeping and she hears the jingling of the bangles. Oh, who's there? Who's there? Radhika becomes afraid of her mother-in-law and quickly runs back to her room and closes the door and lies down. Krishna is outside. Oh, Jyotila is still awake. I should wait for some time until she falls asleep and then try again. Ooh, ooh. Again, Radhika tries to sneak from the house, but Jyotila, oh, who's there? Who's there? And she goes back to her bed. Like this, the whole night passes. And Krishna sees morning is coming. And with his head bowed down and completely disappointed, he returns to Nandagaon. Radhikara Guru, Prema Guru Ami Sishanat. Radhika's Prem is my Guru and teaches me new things. Though he is Sarva Shaktiman, he has all power. But in this situation, he's frustrated, he's disappointed, he's helpless, and he's afraid. Then Krishna is thinking, although I am Sukhapurna, full of joy, I go into the forest and I decorate a kunj. And then I'm standing there waiting in great anxiety. When will Srimati Radhika come? Although I am Satya Swarup, I am the embodiment of truth. Satya Pratam Satya Param Trisatyam. I am the truth in the past, present and the future, and my words are always true. But for the sake of Srimati Radhika, I change my form. I adopt a disguise. I cheat in so many ways. Just like when, after being in Radha-kund, then Radhika quickly goes to Surya-kund because that was her bahana, her excuse to do Surya Puja. And when she's there, then Jatila was thinking, why did my daughter-in-law become so late? Let's go and see what she's doing. And Jatila arrives there at Surya-kund. But Krishna, he's so eager. He cannot stay away from Radharani. He will go to extreme lengths and disguise himself as a Brahmin boy. With a upavit, with a Brahmin thread, with Shastra under his arm, with wooden shoes, with a kush grass. And though Krishna, his eyes are very restless and intoxicated, looking here and there. He's a Dilalit Nayak. He's the hero who is like Cupid. He's so eager to meet with Radhika, his eyes become steady and he becomes like a Brahmin. Dear Shanta. How can the Dilalit become Dear Shanta? But Krishna can do it because he's desperate somehow or other to meet with Srimati Radhika. And he pretends to be the Purohit for the puja there. Krishna thinks, I am Nitya Gyanmay. But although I am Nitya Gyanmay, one time, Radha and Krishna met together. And Radharani was being quite contrary. And Krishna, he became tired, he became exhausted of Radhika's contrariness. Seeing this, Lalita Sakhi said, Oh Sakhi, be kind to him. So then Radharani became quite soft and gentle and accepting of Sri Krishna. This is the nature of Radhika. She's the Sakhi Pranaya Vashata. She's controlled by the love of her Sakhis. When her Sakhis say, be contrary, she becomes contrary. When they say, be soft, she becomes soft. This is why Sri Krishna, he has to get the favor of Radhika's Sakhis. So then she became very gentle. Krishna said, I'll make a very beautiful mukut for you. A beautiful crown of peacock feathers. Just as Sri Krishna said this, some peacocks were nearby, they were dancing, and they dropped their feathers. Their feathers fell from their tails onto the ground. Just see. All the Sakhis are serving Radhika. The Manjaris are serving Radhika and the Sakhis. And Vrindavan is serving everyone. So the moment Krishna desired some peacock feathers to make a ornament for Radhika, the peacocks were dancing and they dropped their feathers there. This is Chintamani Bhumi, Brajmandal. So then Krishna, he said, wait there, I'm going to collect the feathers. Krishna went to collect the feathers and Radhika just disappeared. Krishna came, Lalita, where is your Sakhi? She went home. I don't believe you. No, Radhika has suddenly disappeared. She wants to play hide and seek. So Krishna is searching for Radhika everywhere. Hide and seek is very complicated in Krishna Lila. In this world for children, hide and seek is very simple. Someone hides, someone seeks. But in the Prema Lila, it is very complicated. Why? Sarva bhuteshu ya pasyat bhagavat bhavam atmana. When Prem is there, then you see your beloved everywhere. Then how will you find your beloved if you keep seeing them everywhere? It's not only complicated for the person who's looking, it's complicated for the person who's hiding also. Because wherever Radhika, the nectar of her glance falls, then the flowers start to blossom, the trees start to blossom and tremble. So wherever she goes, she leaves the trail of ecstatic flora and fauna through the forest. This hide and seek is very long katha. I don't want to go there today. I got derailed a little bit. So Krishna was searching. He said, oh, Madhumanga, look, there's Radhika. And he ran and embraced Srimati Radhika. Madhumanga says, oh Krishna, I think that your head is still dizzy from that day when Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon, took you for a spin in the sky. This is not Srimati Radhika, this is a Stalakamalini. It is a golden land lotus. So out of the madness of Prem, Sri Krishna saw that a golden land lotus, he thought it was Radhika and ran and embraced it. So this is the meaning. Radhikara prema guru amisisyanat ama sadanana nitye nacha udbhat. Srila Vishnu Thakur explains in this way. Though Krishna is nitya jnanamoy, the embodiment of eternal knowledge, but mistaking the flowers and other things in the forest to be Radhika, he runs and embraces them. This is the little touch insight into Radha Tattva. Now we want to come to one verse of Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi, verse 39. This is a very dear and favorite verse of my Gurudev. Venu karan patitam skalitam shikhandam brastang chipita basramam brajaraja suno yasya kataksha sharagata vimochitasya tam radhikam parachayami kadara sena. See, Krishna has done some fault. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? But anyway, he's in trouble. Sometimes it happens that Radhika, she makes a beautiful garland for Sri Krishna and gives this garland to him with so much love, and he wears it and it's so dear to him. Afterwards, he has to go to meet with his friends. On the way, Krishna thought, let me take bath in the Jamuna. So Krishna very lovingly took off his garland and hung it on a tree to take bath. While he was bathing, then Sakhi of Chandravali came. She was spying on him and she stole the garland. Then she went to Chandravali and she wove it into the hair of Chandravali. After that, she went to Lalita Sakhi and said, oh, your Sakhi, Radhika, she makes such beautiful, beautiful garlands. Just see how it shines in the hair of my Chandravali. When Lalita Sakhi heard this, she became furious. And she went and told Srimati Radhika. So Radhika becomes in man. So sometimes Krishna does something which is anishta, not pleasing to Radhika and her group. It happens sometimes. But sometimes he is completely innocent. But he gets framed because that's the duty of the Vipaksha Sakhis. Those who are in an opposing group, they have to, not only do they arrange to meet with Krishna, but they also arrange to sabotage the plans of the other group, to demoralize them in various ways. So, one day, Sri Krishna was in trouble. Radhika was in Mahan. She refused to meet with him. And after a long, long drama, Krishna finally came to her kunj and was pacifying her with sweet words. Radhika was not listening. So then Sri Krishna, he took his flute and began to play his flute. Radhika's heart was touched. And she, even though she manifests man, she is very eager to meet with Krishna. And when the man begins to melt, even then she doesn't show it. Why? Because Lalita Sakhi is telling her, don't be submissive to see Krishna. So because Radhika is afraid of disobeying Lalita Sakhi, she continues to make a show of man, even when inside she's giving that man up. So gradually Radhika's heart was melting, and she glanced towards Sri Krishna. Yasya kataksha sharagata vimurchitasya. That glance of Radhika was filled with Prem, filled with Mahabhava, even filled with mother. And when Sri Krishna was struck by the arrow of Srimati Radhika's glance, then Venu karan nipatita, the flute in his hand, his hands were perspiring, trembling, became stunned. And that flute, which is so powerful, it can conquer 33 million gopis. If Krishna will go to Bansibhat and play his flute, then Shatakoti gopi, millions of gopis from all over Braj, they lose their minds and come running to him. How powerful is that flute? But just by the glance of Radhika, his hands are trembling and the flute falls from his hands. Krishna doesn't even know that the flute has fallen from his hands. So he's still blowing. He doesn't even know that he's dropped the flute. Our Rupa Goswami Pad said, all glories to the silent flute playing of Krishna. The gopis, the nayikas, they love the sound of Krishna's flute. But for the manjaris, the maidservants of Srimati Radhika, that silent flute playing is more glorious. Because it means that Krishna has just lost all awareness, overpowered by the prem of Srimati Radhika. So Venu karan nipatitas kalitam shikandam brastang chapita pasanam brajaraja suno. Krishna's pitambar. You know, if there's a battle, warriors are fighting on a battlefield, then if one warrior shoots the other warrior with his arrow, then what happens? He drops his weapon first. Then his cloth. Then he's trembling and he falls to the ground unconscious. So first Krishna drops his flute. Then he's trembling and his pitambar, which is so charming. Baha pidam natavaravapohu karnayo karnikanam bibradbasa kanaka kapishan kapishan. Krishna's complexion is like a fresh rain cloud, and his pitambar is like a flash of lightning. So when there's a thunderstorm, then it causes high waves in the ocean. So when the Braj Gopis see the rain cloud of Sri Krishna's beautiful Sri Anga, his body, with the flash of lightning of his pitambar, it causes waves in the ocean of Gopis' prem. So powerful. But that pitambar also falls to the ground. Vimurchitasya. Then Krishna himself, he loses awareness and he faints. And Sri Krishna also falls. At that time, Radhika thinks, what have I done? It was not her intention, only she was feeling separation from Sri Krishna. Krishna was feeling separation from Srimati Radhika. She could not tolerate it for another moment, so she moved her veil and looked at him. And Krishna has fainted. What can I do? So here, Tamradikam Parachayami Kadarasena, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he said, when will I have the chance to do the paricharya, parachayami, very intimate, personal, bodily services for Radha and Krishna, which are rasena, full of rasa. That means at that moment, Radhika, seeing what happened, she glances towards her manjaris. And by her glance, we always pray, Kada karistasiyamam kripa katakshabhajanam. When will I become the object of the merciful glance of Srimati Radhika? That means, Srishvari drishtivagadi sarving gita vichakshanam. When will Radhika, by her glance, give me the agya, give me an order to render some seva? So by her glance, the manjaris, they understand, Radhika wants us to revive Krishna. So they come, they're fanning, giving some cool water, giving some massage. Nothing works. What is the antidote to the arrows of Madanakya Mahabhava? The antidote is to sing in Madan Rag. So then the manjaris, they begin to sing Radha Mahima, the glories of Srimati Radhika in Madan Raga. And when the Parama Pavitra, supremely purifying, ecstatic glories, the kirtan of Radhika's glories in Madan Rag enters into the ear of Krishna, then he opens his lotus eyes. And then the pastimes, Radha Krishna's beautiful Jai Jai Radha Krishna Jugala Milan, that beautiful meeting can take place, which is the only happiness for all the Sakhis. You have to understand this fact. There are two things, darkness and light. For the Sakhis, Radha and Krishna's separation is darkness. And the only light in their life, the only thing that gives them any happiness, they have no conception of their own personal happiness. Nothing. The only thing which is a light in their life, the only thing that can give them any happiness is Radha and Krishna's happiness. The meeting of Radha and Krishna. This is why we put on tilak every day. One side represents Radhika, one side represents Krishna. These are parallel lines. So the parallel lines never meet. But these two lines, they meet here. Where? This tulsi leaf means Brenda, Vrindavan. So this is the emblem of the manjaris Parakashta Ashwas, highest aspiration. Radha and Krishna should meet in Vrindavan. This is the essence of the whole consciousness. Now the question comes. And I look at the ocean of the subject from a distance and tremble and feel inadequate. What can be said about this? What is this Mahabhava of Radhika? She is Mahabhava Swarup. But what is that? If Srila Rupa Goswami Pad had not appeared in this world, being empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there would be no clue. So start a little at the beginning. Everyone knows Rupa Goswami has said, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suyangsu Samyabha. He described what is Bhav. It is the Ladini Sabriti and Samvit Sabriti together. This is Bhav. So when it appears, Avir Bhuya Mano Brito Brajanti Tat Surupakam Swayam Prakasha Rupapi Basamana Prakashavat. Every thought in your mind is a movement of pran. Pran is also called Sutra Tattva because it moves in sutras, threads. In the Upanishads it is said, Eisho Nur Atma chaitasa veditabhya yasmin prana panchada samvivesha pranais chitam sarvam otam prajanam tasmin vishuddhe vibhavyata esha atma. One should know Atma. What is Atma? Anu, tiny. God is great, but we are tiny. And how can you know it? Chaitasa, by your chitta. What is this chitta? Prana panchaja samvivesh. 5 types of pran. Pran, Vyan, Apan, Udan, Saman. 5 types of pran. They have entered into the chitta. And they are going up, going down. They are expanding, contracting, pushing out. So pranais chitam sarvam otam. This chitta is sarvam otam. Otam means interwoven. Interwoven. Just like threads are woven together, they make cloth. So the chitta is interwoven with the sutras. The sutra tattva of pran. And it's moving. Tasmin vishuddhe vibhavat esha atma. When the chitta becomes purified from the tamasic rajasic movements of pran, at that time you can see your atma, the self. So for an ordinary person, all their thoughts, feelings, perceptions, everything is the only chitta vritti, the movement of pran. So here Rupa Goswami Pad is saying that just as an avatar descends from the spiritual world and appears in this world, in the same way, the essence of Samvit and Hladini, they do avirbhav. They descend on your pran, in your chitta, and they co-opt it. They take charge of it. Now they are in charge. They are in control. So just as the movements of your pran give you perceptions of this world, when the Samvit and Hladini co-opt your pran, then at that time they give you perceptions of the spiritual world that one could not have otherwise. So Swayam Prakasha Rupapi, this Samvit Shakti and Hladini is Swayam Prakash, self-manifest. And they reveal the transcendental realization. Now, in the next verse, Rupa Goswami says, Vastuta Swayam Aswada. It is not only Swayam Prakash, self-revealing, but this bhav is also Swayam Aswad, self-relishing. In other words, it is delicious. When the Hladini Shakti appears in the heart, it is very tasty. It gives ruchi bishchitamasranya, gives taste. Understand what is taste. Taste is actually abhilas. The relishment is in the abhilas, is in the desire. If you serve Krishna, there's joy in that. But the devotee, even if he doesn't get the chance to serve him, only desiring to serve him makes the heart ullas, expand and become joyful. Just the desire. So it is a self-relishing. So vastuta swam aswada. It is self-relishing, and also Krishnadi kamakaswada hetutvam pratipadyate. In the form of Hladini, it is self-relishing. I want to serve Krishna. And in the form of Samvit, it is the cause of relishing Krishna because it reveals the form of Krishna. So Samvit makes that, just as Maya makes the material ego subject and object. So Samvit makes the awareness of Vishay and Ashray, yourself and Krishna. And then Hladini, the desire to serve. And when Krishna's actually served and pleased, Hladini increases more because it's his pleasure potency. It corresponds exactly to his pleasure. The more he's pleased, the more the devotee feels pleasure. That's why the devotee has no desire for his own happiness. No need. It's completely redundant, useless. So this is the action of Samvit Hladini, and it's acting in different ways through all the stages: Prem, Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anubhav, Mahabhava, like this. So when Anurag comes to its limit and goes over its limit, then Anurag turns into Mahabhava. So this is the subject we're discussing. Radhika's Prem is Krishna's guru. But what is this Prem? It is Mahabhava. What is it like? So Rupa Goswami Pad said, this Mahabhava, it has 3 features. Now I'm speaking something like a theoretical idea. Rupa Goswami gives the theory in Bhakti-rasamrita-sindhu Ujjvala-Nilamani, but he also gives examples and he illustrates it, how it plays in the Lila. And especially in his dramas, Sri Dankali Komedi, Vidagdha Madhav, Lalit Madhav, then you see all the Rasa-tattva of Rupa Goswami playing together, everything, all the components going, because what they're like in action. Actually, without the example, no one can understand. So, just try to hear patiently a little bit of the Rasa-tattva, then afterwards we'll present how Rupa Goswami Pad has illustrated everything. So, the Paribhasha, Rupa Goswami is famous for this. Bhakti-rasamrita-sindhu, Ujjvala-Nilamani, they are called Paribhasha Shastra. They are the books of Paribhasha, that means definitions. Unless our terms are precisely defined and we agree on what a word means, then we cannot have a conversation, we cannot have a communication. So it's essential. So Rupa Goswami said, Anuraga swasamvedya dasha prapa pakashita yavad ashraya britisted bhava itya vidiyate. Anuraga swasamvedya means dasha. When anurag attains the state of being perceived by itself, that is called swasamvedya dasha. Then, if swasamvedya dasha comes, will it be Mahabhava? No. There's another condition. After the appearance of swasamvedya dasha, if prakashita comes, that means beginning from udipta sattvik bhav, 5 sattvik bhavs at least, manifest in an inflamed way. That is called prakashita. And then it will be Mahabhava. No. Yavad ashray britis chet. Oh, only if after swasamvedya dasha has manifested, after prakashika has manifested, if then it becomes yavad ashray briti, then bhava ityabhidiyate. Then it can be called Mahabhava. So, it sounds very complicated. So I'll try to make it very, very easy, simple, so that a child can understand. Maybe a child genius. But we'll try to make it simple. First of all, Anuraga Swasambedya. Sometimes it is said, and actually Vishwanath Thakur brings up this point. Swa means its own, Sambedya, known by itself. So, see Vishwanath Thakur said, if we say this means that only the person who has this bhav, only he knows what it is like, not others. Then he said, no, we cannot take that as a complete explanation. Why? Because from the very beginning, Swayam Prakasha Rupapi, every bhav from the very beginning is self-manifest and can only be understood by the one who is having that experience. So it must be something else. So Swasamvedya dasha means this. Anurag becomes the object of its own experience. Now, you have to go all the way back. You're at the end of Ujjvala-Nilamani. You have to go back to the beginning of Bhakti-rasa-sudha-nidhi and remember what Rupa Goswami has written there. He said, in this bhav, what happens? Samvit Shakti is making what? 2 things. Though the absolute truth is one, But it gives the perception of ashray and vishay, the subject and object, the devotee and the object of the devotee's love. And the ladini gives the joy and the abhilas, the desire to serve. These are the functions of samvit and ladini. Now, take this anurag. In this anurag, there's experience of the devotee, the subject, and Krishna, object. Now, anurag becomes the object of its own experience. That means, now make another anurag. Here is anurag, and this anurag is seeing this anurag. Understand? So in this anurag, there's the Vishay and Ashray, subject and object. And in this anurag, there's another subject. And what's the object? The first anurag. Understand? Raise your hand if you understood what I said. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you? Yes. Understand? Anurag becomes the object of its own experience. So there are two things here. There's anurag and another anurag. In the first anurag, there's a subject of an object, Radhika and Krishna. In the second anurag, there's another subject, because samvit makes the subject. But its object is what? The first anurag. And this is why it's called Ruddha-bhav. Ruddha-bhav. Huh? In Bhagavad Gita, even Krishna speaks about yoga arudha. The yogi who is the yogi who has not become ruddha means elevated to a higher platform. So there's a yogi who is not yet elevated to a higher consciousness, and the yogi who has come to a higher consciousness. And this is why when Sri Krishna is describing to Uddhav about the gopis Mahabhava, he compares them to yogis going into samadhi. Just before Krishna left this world, he was teaching Uddhav, and he was telling Uddhav about sadhu sangha. Of course, he's describing different levels of sadhus, so just in the flow of Krishna's katha, describing different levels of sadhus, higher and higher, then where will it lead? It has to go only to Braj Gopis, because they are the greatest sadhus. Gopis are the highest sadhus. Gopi Sangha, Sarva Shastika. Lava Mata Gopi Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. The best sadhu Sangha is Gopi Sangha. So when Krishna is speaking on the subject of Gopi Sangha, sadhu Sangha, then he comes to Gopis and he tells to Uddhav, Tannavidan Mayanu Sangha Badha Diyaswamatmanam Atastadedam Yatha Samado Muni Obditaye Nadya Pravishta Ivanama Rupe. It's fantastic. Do I have to keep speaking this class? Can I just sit here and just relish that for a few hours? So beautiful. Krishna is saying, hey Uddhav, Tannavidan Mayano Sangha Baddha. These gopis, their consciousness, their hearts, they're so deeply attached to me. Atastatedam, they forget themselves. They forget about everything in this world and everything in the next world. What may happen in the future. They're exactly like Yatha Samado Muni Abditoye Nadyapavishta Ivana. Just like a Muni, he goes into Samadhi. So there are two types of Samadhi. One is Nirvikalpa, one is Savikalpa. One is Sampragyata, one is Asampragyata. The Asampragyata is also Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That means, it's a simple thing, it's not complicated. The Asampragyata Samadhi or Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that is a trance which has no subject and object in it. There's no experience of anything. So it's Kaivalya. So for us, we don't care. Kaivalyam narakayate. It's like hell for the devotees of Gauranga, forget it. But the Sampragyata Samadhi means a Samadhi which has a subject and it has an object also. So when the Muni goes into that, then he becomes absorbed in his perspective of the Adhyatma. And from the perspective of the Adhyatma, the self, the real self, the soul, he can see his conventional self. You understand? You have body, mind, intelligence, ego, everything is there functioning. And when he goes into the Sampragyata Samadhi, he's Ruddha, he rises to a level above that, and he becomes Shakshi, a witness, towards his own body and mind and his own conventional self, from the perspective of Adhyatma. Understand? So when this Ruddha Bhav comes, gopis become... when the yogi goes into that Adhyatmic state, at that time, then he can completely understand. He has no kartrito abhiman. I am not the doer. Everything is going on by itself. And this is why Shukadev Goswami has said that Rasutsavaha sampravito gopi mandala manditaha yogeshwarena krishnena madhye tasam madhye dvayo. When the Rasa Leela began, the Mahabhava manifested. And when it doesn't say Krishna began the Rasa Leela. It says the Rasa Leela began. That means the essence of Prem, Mahabhava, has appeared, and now Krishna and the gopis are not doing the Rasa Leela. Prem has become Karta. Prem has, the love has become the doer, and Yogeshwar Krishna, who is the master of all yogis. Now, Yogeshwarena Krishnena. Here, Krishnena, this is the instrumental case in Sanskrit, the Tritiya Vibhakti. Instrumental case. It means that in this Rasa Leela, Krishna is not the doer. Gopis are not the doer. Who is Karta, the doer? Yeah? Our Gurudev used to say, He used to say, what is speciality of Radha Kund? There. Prem is Karta. You see? So only when Mahabhava appears, and because Krishna reciprocates, Krishna also has a Mahabhava. So when Mahabhava appears in the gopis, Mahabhava appears in Krishna, and all go Ruddha, elevated to the next level. They have no sense of being the doer, and Prem is doing everything. It's complete ecstasy. The Rasa Leela is going on by itself. Amazing. Ruddha. And this is why this Ruddha Bhav has so many symptoms. So one of the symptoms we heard from Bhattaji this morning, Mohadya Bhave Pyatmadi Sarva Vismaranam Sada. That means that even without fainting, if you faint, you lose consciousness. When you lose consciousness, you forget everything. Who you are, where you are, what you are doing. But here, the symptom of Ruddha Bhav is, gopis did not faint. They're still conscious. But they forget everything. So, Nadya Pravishta Eva Nama Rupe. That's first example Krishna gives for Mahabhava. It is like yogi going into Samadhi. Second example, like a river going into the ocean. You know, the rivers have names. All rivers have names. When they go in the ocean, we just call it the ocean. So in the same way, gopis, they forget, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And they're just completely lost in the ecstasy of Krishna Seva. But they're fully aware also of themselves and Krishna. But they're not seeing from any type of the egoistic point. This is why, see, Ramananda Rai has described it. Na so Ramana na hama Ramani, dui manu manubhava peshla jani. At first, paile raga nayana banga bela, anudina barla abadina gela. At first, Krishna looked at me, and Anurag appeared in my heart, and it quickly increased day after day and became unlimited. And now what happened? I feel I am not the beloved and he is not my lover. Cupid has melted our hearts together. So, it is not like a oneness of Mayavad, but there is a oneness of Bhav, and there's a perception of everything, all the Leela, but no sense of Kartrita Abhiman, just in the flow of Prem. Very beautiful. So that is called Swasamvedya Dasha, when the Anurag, wherein there's Ashray and Vishay, another Anurag appears and makes that Anurag its object. So Anurag is the subject, is the object, and also the doer. It is the karma, it is the object, it is the karta, the doer, and it is also the instrument as well. So, you see, if you don't catch what Rupa Goswami writes about Bhav in the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when you come to the end of Ujjvala-rasa-sudha-nidhi, you will not catch anything. Because he's writing in a very structured way. step by step, building up the layers of rasa-tattva. If anyone can appreciate the architecture of Srila Rupa Goswami's presentation, then only the mouth becomes open. One will be stunned. It is astonishing. Very beautiful. So then, now, let me see. Oh, it's not 6 o'clock yet. I've got till 7. I have over 1 hour. I'm just I want to touch the subject in theory, and then we can see how it plays out in the lila. So, when that Swasamvedya Dasha comes, oh, another thing, one more thing I want to tell about Swasamvedya Dasha before I go to the next thing. Is it possible to have any feeling of personal desire for happiness, swasuk, or sense gratification, and be in the state of sakshitva at the same time? To go to an adhyatmic position and see oneself from that position and also have any attachment or desire at the same time. Is it possible? Not possible. It is not possible at all. Only when Mahabhava appears, that is actually called the Kamatmik Bhakti. It is in gopis. It is not even in the queens of Dwarka. Understand? This is why the queens of Dwarka, we heard this morning, they have Samanjasa Rati. They cannot fully control Krishna because their prem is Samanjasa. It is, sometimes they act completely out of love. At that time, Krishna is controlled. But sometimes they act due to their position. Because a wife has the right to meet with a husband and have children. Each queen of Dwarka has 10 sons and 1 daughter. It's their right. The husband owes this thing. So it is said that when the Mahishis, the queens of Dwarka, Rukmini, Satyabhama, they have Sambhog Ichcha, that is the desire to unite with Krishna, it can be of 2 types. One type, it is called the Vayasandhi Uchita Sambhog Ichcha. In other words, a young girl has no amorous desire. When she becomes in Vayasandhi, an adolescent, and becomes a woman, now a desire appears which is quite uchita. It's appropriate for that age. So in Vedic culture, before that adolescence comes, then the marriage is arranged so that when it appears, it can find a dharmic expression. Understand? So, sometimes the queens of Dwarka, they look at Krishna, they glance at him, they smile, and by their eyes they indicate that they want to be alone with him. Right? But sometimes those smiles and those glances, they are coming from Vayasandhi Uchita Sambhog Ichcha, the desire, natural desire, which is appropriate for that age. For a girl, she wants to meet with her husband. And sometimes those glances, they are the anubhav of their rati. And rati is the desire to please Krishna. So when the smiles and the glances of the queens of Dwarka are the anubhav of their rati, their desire to please Krishna, at that time Krishna comes under their control to a certain degree. But at the time when those smiles and glances are coming from the Sambhog Uchita, the Vayasandhi Uchita Sambhog Ichcha, at that time, then Krishna is not controlled. So Shukadeva Goswami in the first canto, when he describes Krishna's return to Dwarka, he says, when Krishna came back to Dwarka, the queens came, everyone came to meet him. And the queens were glancing at Krishna with such glances which were so attractive that if Cupid will see them, he'll throw his bow on the ground. My bow is useless. The glances were so beautiful, even Shiva, who is yogi, Mahayogi, great yogi and self-controlled, he could be disturbed. They were so beautiful. But yasyendriyam vimahitam kukam nasikohu. But their beautiful smiles and glances could not bring Krishna under control. Why? Because it was the anubhav coming from the Vayasandhi Uchita Sambhog Ichcha. But on other times, their desire is pure. Srila Vishwanath Thakur gives the example that when Satyabhama was upset with Krishna because Krishna gave the Parijat flower to Rukmini, then she went in her Kop Bhavan. This is great social science. To the ladies who are married, if you're upset with your husband, don't start arguing. Because Chanaka Pandita said, a man should immediately leave that place where a woman has an angry face. This is the Vedic injunction. So what you have to do is you have to have one room in your house called the Kop Bhavan. Anger house. So if you're upset, you just go on strike and go there and lie down and hyperventilate. So then when the husband realizes, oh, where's my wife? Oh, then he'll come in a very humble mood and there can be a civilized discussion and the problem can be solved. So this is what happened. Satyabhama was hyperventilating in the Kopa Bhavan. My Gurudev used to say Krishna came and touched her and she was like a snake. If you touch a snake. And so she said, oh, why did you give the Parijat flower to her? Krishna said, you don't worry. I'll give you a whole Parijat tree. So Vishwanath Thakur comments that actually at that time, the Satyabhama was pleasing Krishna by her man. Right? Who is going to do a man like this in Dwarka? Rukmini won't do a man like this. Krishna misses this. He loves this. This was his life in Vrindavan. He misses it so much. Satyabhama is actually doing a seva. Man seva. Krishna loves this. And that's why he said, I'll get the Parijat flower. He was under her control. So Vishwanath Thakur notes here, there's no selfishness here. That was coming from the rati, from the love of Satyabhama, and the proof is that Krishna was controlled. Otherwise, he would not be controlled. Huh? So Samanya Jasarati is such that sometimes he's controlled, sometimes he isn't. But Samartha Rati of gopis, Krishna is always controlled. He's always controlled. Why? Because there's no samanjasa. There's no adulteration. Samanjasa means a compromise. Understand? There's no compromise at all in this love. It's all for Krishna. So the Mahishis, they have Anurag, they have Anurag, Prem Vaitchitya. But then when it turns into Mahabhava, only gopis have this, Swasambedya Dasha, that completely brings Krishna under control. Now I'm coming back to the point, this latest point that we are just discussing, is that you cannot be a yogi, you cannot have any desire for sense gratification and be in the elevated state, right? Because the elevated state is the state of disassociation with the conventional empirical self, you see? So when the Swasambedya Dasha comes and the gopis go into that higher state, there is absolutely no question whatsoever of any sense gratification. It is completely impossible. Krishnendriya prativancha taribali kam. Atmendriya prativancha taribali kam. Krishnendriya pratiicha dhari premanam. The desire for your own sense gratification, to please your own senses, is called kam, lust. But the desire to please Krishna's senses completely is called Prem. That is called Prem. But the Prem of the gopis has become famous by the name of Kam. Premaiva goparamanam kama ityagamat pratam ityudavadi opyetan vanchanti bhagavat priya. The Prem of the Braj gopis has become famous by the name of Kam, but really it is not Kam, it is Prem, it is love. And the proof is Ityudavadyopetan, great Mahabhagavats like Uddhav. Uddhav has glorified. Uddhav has glorified this love. Vande Nanda Brajestrinam Padarena Bhikshnasaha. Trembling, crying, rolling on the ground, giving pranam from far away. Bhishma Dev has glorified this love. Lalita Gati Vilasa Falguhasa Pranayani Rikshna Kalpituramana. We heard there in Navadvip at Bhishma Dev's place in Janvadvip. How Bhishma Dev glorified the love of gopis. So this love, it looks like Kam, but it's actually Prem. Now the question comes also, if It's Prem. But why does it take the form of calm? We'll come to it gradually. So we're looking at the definition of Mahabhava. 3 things. First, anuraga-svasamveda. There cannot be any question of personal enjoyment when one is ruddha. One has become elevated to a higher dimension and seeing from there. This is why we heard from Bhattaji this morning also one symptom, anubhav of Mahabhava. What is that? So KP, tat so KP, artishankaya kinatvam. It means Krishna is completely happy. But Braj Gopis are worried. They become emaciated. Kinatva means they become emaciated with anxiety that Krishna is experiencing some discomfort even when he's completely happy. So that is the example given by Rupa Goswami. Yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu vitashanai priyadati mahika kasheshu. If a heroine holds a lover's lotus feet on her heart, then that gives her great pleasure. But when the gopis hold the lotus feet of Krishna on their hearts, they don't think about their own pleasure. They're only thinking of Krishna's happiness. So they think his feet are so soft and our heart is so hard. Maybe he feels some discomfort. Krishna is ecstatic. He's so happy. But they are worried that maybe he's feeling some discomfort. So how astonishing is this Mahabhava? So it begins Swasamved, Anuraga, Swasamvedya. It has gone beyond the limits of anyone. No one outside of Vrindavan can touch this level of love. So Prapa Prakashita. Now this is really amazing. Prapa Prakashita. It means Sattvic bhavs come from the stage of, they begin Dumayit, smoking, Jwalit, lit, Dipta, fire is blazing, Udipta. So from Udipta onwards, and Udipta and Sudipta, that is called Prakashita. 5 Sattvic bhavs at once, at least, and can be more, up to 8. They're manifested in a very blazing condition. Why is this Sattvic bhav a rasa samagri, an ingredient of rasa? We learn about this in the very early on, before Ujjvala-Nilamani, in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, there's a description of 8 Sattvic bhavs. It says that when the Shuddha Sattva, Samvit and Ladini, is in the Chittavrittis, then this Shuddha Sattva touches the pran, and then the pran begins to travel around the body. And when the pran carrying the vritti of Vishuddha Sattva, Visheshatma, moves around the body, it touches the 5 elements. And as it touches each element, then it produces some reaction. I remember Gurudev said that before he joined Gaudiya Math, he was a great devotee, and especially studying Ramcharitmanas. He was a great devotee of Sita Ram. And he was chanting, and he was also experiencing great ecstatic symptoms. And he was always wondering, how does it work? And then he said, then when I came in the Gaudiya Sampradaya and I saw what Rupa Goswami had written, then my desire was fulfilled. I wanted to know, how does this happen? And everything was written. Gurudev shared that experience in his life. So, when it touches the air element, then air is on the surface of the skin, giving the sense of touch. It causes the hairs to stand on end. When it touches the water elements, then tears flow from the eyes. When it touches the fire element, then perspiration comes, you become hot. And the voice is choked because the power to speak. And it starts with Agni, like this. So in this way, touching each element, 8 Sattvic bhavs, tears, trembling, hair standing on end, perspiration, choking of the voice, Vaivarnya, fading of the colors, becoming stunned. All these Sattvic bhavs manifest. So when 5 or more at the same time is very in Udipta, highly inflamed, this is called Prakashita. Prakashita. Now, here's the very beautiful point. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, he says, Varamrita Swarupa Sri Swaswarupam Mano Nayet. That you can understand. In your chitta, in your mind, there are so many vrittis going on. So some bhav might appear, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, and manifest some feeling, some realization. But it doesn't pervade all the vrittis. All the vrittis, only some. And this is also true even for the devotees in the spiritual world. Their bodies are made of Sandhini Shakti. Their bodies are made of Sanjini Shakti. And actions, they're done by Kriya Shakti. Knowledge from Gyan Shakti. Actions by Kriya Shakti. Icha from Icha Shakti is there. But Prem comes and Samvita and Ladini also manifest to varying degrees in them. So, the speciality of the Braja Gopis is this, that when Mahabhava appears, it's so powerful, it takes over every britti. Every britti. There's not one part of the mind, the senses, or any aspect of experience which is not fully saturated and under the control of that Mahabhava. Vishwanath Thakur comments that the queens of Dwarka, in the state of Prem, all their vrittis don't become one with the state of Prem. So what's to speak of Mahabhava? They don't come into the state of Mahabhava. But for the Braj Gopis, all of their chitta vrittis become completely one. Swaswarupam mano nayet. That means the whole mind is brought into the swarup of Mahabhava. So the body's existence, potency is Sandhini, but now it becomes completely one with the state of Mahabhava. So this is described in the Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabi. You know, if an Ayurvedic doctor is making a medicine, he wants to make extra strength amla. So what does he do? He does the process called the Swabhavana. You take the powdered amla, and you soak it in amla juice. And it becomes more potent until it dries, and now it's more potent. Then you soak it in amla juice again. That is called Bahu Swabhavana. And it dries, and then you soak it again. It dries, you soak it again. And so the particles are taking on more and more of the power, the potency of that medicine. And when it has gone to the maximum strength, then that medicine is called Bhavita. That's called Bhavita. So Lord Brahma is saying in the Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Prati Bhavitabi. That the Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, the essence of Samvita and Ladini, has soaked into the gopis. When it comes up to Mahabhava, they're completely soaked to the maximum potency. Of course, it can become Adirodha and Madan. And only Radharani is to the full limit. She is the Prema Rasa Simha, the ultimate limit of love. But in Mahabhava, all the chitta vrittis have become completely one with Mahabhava. So Swaswarupam Mano Nayet Amrita Swarup Varamrita Swarupa Sri. And just as Amrita is the most tasty thing, it's very delicious, so this Mahabhava is the Amrita. It is the most tasty thing for Sri Krishna. Radha-rasa-sudha. Sudha means Amrita. So this Mahabhava is the Amrita for Krishna. The mind has become completely bhavita, pratibhavitabi. Prati is interesting. Prati means one thing infuses one thing and one thing infuses the other. In other words, when Krishna sees the gopis, then their Mahabhava manifests. When gopis Mahabhava manifests, that is infused in Krishna, and Krishna's Mahabhava manifests. And therefore, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Prati to each other, Bhavita Pihi. Understand? So, now, what happens when Mano Nayet, the entire consciousness is now completely one, just like iron in a fire becomes exactly of the Swarup of fire, then the chitta of Braj Gopis, it cannot contain it. It cannot contain it, and it overflows. So just like a person in this world gets sattvic bhav because some vritti of bhav has gone and touched the pran, so it overflows from the chitta of Braj Gopis into all of their prans and all of their senses, not a little bit. It overflows so much that their entire bodies become one with Mahabhav. And that's the meaning of Mahabhav Swarup. Actually, Swarupa, Mahabhav Swarupa. The entire body becomes one with Mahabhav, and the symptom that the Mahabhav in the mind has overflowed through all the prans and all the senses, and now the entire body has become one with Mahabhav. The symptom is Prakashita, Udipta. Understand? They have 5 or more sattvic bhavs at the same time in that state. Huh? It's quite amazing. And then they start to glow. They're shining. Prakashita means illuminated. Their whole swarups are illuminated so beautifully. And that's why, we can give an example. Vishnu Thakur describes in Krishna Bhavanamrita, when Radha Krishna in the morning, Nishanta Leela, they're leaving the Kunj. So they leave the Kunj and they're on their way home. For some of the way, they walk together. On the one hand, they have a Bhav Shabalya because they're eager to be together, so they keep arms on each other's shoulder. But at the same time, they are afraid that someone might see them. So these two Bhavs are pulling. The fear of being seen, but at the same time, they cannot let go of each other. And as they get closer to their homes, then the fear overtakes and they separate. So that there's a village nearby between Nandagaon and Varsana. That village is called Doman. Doman means 2 minds or 2 hearts. Because when Radha Krishna separate at that time, Krishna's one mind goes with him, but another mind of Krishna goes with Radharani, and Radhika's mind splits, one part goes with Krishna, one part goes with there. So that village, that place where Radha Krishna, they're coming from the Kunj, and then Radhika has to return to Yavat and Krishna has to return to Nandagaon. The place where they separate, Doman, that village. So Vishnu Thakur explains that at that moment, when Radha Krishna separate and begin to walk there separate, then they were shining so much. And then the shining goes down. Why? Because the Mahabhav has become, it's aprakat. It's not manifest now. It's not manifest now. It goes back into some anurag or pranay and prem and other stages. So though Madanakya Mahabhav is always in the heart of Radhika, it is always antaprakash, but it's not always bahiprakash. Understand? Radhayam eva yasada. Madanakya Mahabhav is always in Radhika, but it's not always manifest in the Leela. There is always the antaprakash, but not always the bahiprakash. Outer. So Vishnu Thakur describes when they separate and they go to walk back separately, then their glowing recedes and they become not so shiny. This is why it said that Radha Sangha Yadabhati Tasyamadana Mohana. When Krishna is with Radhika, then he's the most beautiful. Why? Because when he's with Radhika, Radhika is in Mahabhav, Krishna goes in Mahabhav, the Mahabhav overflows, he becomes Prakashita and he shines, and then that Nilamani becomes Ujjvala-Nilamani. Nilamani Krishna, when he's next to Radhika, he becomes Ujjvala-Nilamani because he's Prakashit, shining from the overflowing of the Mahabhav. Understand? And that is why only this Parakya, because without Parakya, Anurag will not turn into Mahabhav. It's impossible. In Swakya Ras, Mahabhav will not manifest. And that is why, because in the Anurag, in the Parakya Leela, the secret paramour pastime, rises up to Mahabhav, and then Radha Krishna become effulgent. Therefore, Parakya Ras is called Ujjvala-rasa. Understand? Ujjwal means shining, blazing. So that is anuraga, so samvedya, first point. Dasan prapa prakashita, second point. Now the third main symptom. Third main symptom of Mahabhava. What is that? Yavadashray vritti. Yavadashray vritti has two meanings, but one is more prominent than the other. So I'll just tell one, because I'm trying to learn from the Swiss devotees how to be on time. So, Yavadashray vritti means this, that the vritti of Mahabhava, it is overflowed from the chitta. It has filled all the senses and the body. But it doesn't stop there. It spreads out also from the body. It won't stop. It spreads out. And if this is another symptom Bhattaji mentioned this morning, it's the second anubhav of Ruddhabhav, that is asanjanata ridvilolan. Ridvilolan means the churning of the heart. The heart becomes disturbed. An asana janata means a person who is nearby. So it churns the hearts of any person who is nearby. Here nearby means close enough to see or close enough to hear. So the reason why this asanjanata ridvalolan is one of the characteristics of Mahabhava is because of this Yavadashray vritti. Because the vritti of Mahabhava is now from the chitta to the pran, from the pran, all the senses, the whole body, and now it's spreading out. And if anyone is close enough to see or close enough to hear, then their heart will be churned and they'll experience so much nectar. So that is Yavadashray vritti. Yavad means as much as. An ashray means the shelter. As much as another person has the capacity to receive it, to that degree, the vritti of Mahabhava will spread and it will affect them. And it will churn their heart. You see? And this is why the Manjari pad, the position of being Manjari, is the best position. Actually, then in the group, in the yuta, they are not superior. The Paramprastha Sakhis are superior, the Priya Sakhis are superior, the Prana Sakhis are superior. So the Manjaris, they are not by, that is called Padamaryada. Padamaryada, by the etiquette of status within the group, the yuta of Radhika, they're not so high. But by seva saubhagya, that means by the great fortune of their service opportunities, they are more fortunate. Why? Because when Radha and Krishna meet together in a Nikunj, Lalita and Vishaka are Radhika's peers. She'll be shy in front of them, so they give the Yugal Sakar some space. They recede and they sit on the bank of Jamuna beneath the tree and talk with each other. But the maidservants of Radhika, Prana Prastha Sakhi Kuladapi Kila Sankochita Bhumika. They're asankoch. That means they have no hesitation and they can enter and serve at the time when even the Paramprastha Sakhis, Lalita and Vishaka and others cannot enter. So at that time, what does that mean? It means they're close enough to see or hear. They can look in the Gavaksh, the Jalarandra, through the lattice windows of the Nikunj. Or it may be that they're doing the Vyanjana, pulling the fan. If you sit in the place where you pull the fan, you cannot see inside. That time you can only listen. So if you're doing the seva, Stitva Bahir Bharjana Yantra Nibada Dhori, Vishnu Thakur said, if you're sitting in the place where the rope is for the fan, then from there you cannot see. So even Subal, sometimes he may sit there and he can use the fan, but he cannot see. But still, you're close enough to hear. So whether you can see or hear, then asanjanata ridvilolan. One will be affected by that. Yavadashray, according to one's capacity. Who has the best capacity to receive this? Because the Manjaris are one-pointed in their devotion to Radhika. Therefore, Yavadashray, they are the extreme limit of this receiving this vritti. And therefore it is said that the Manjaris, when they're close to Radha Krishna in their beautiful Nikunja pastimes, then the Manjaris, they become vyapt. Vyapt means completely pervaded from head to toe, every atom from top to bottom by Radhika's Mahabhava. Now there's a reason why it's not called Yavadashray Satta. Satta means existence. If this Mahabhava of Radhika manifested in the Manjaris, it was in them, and by her association she caused it to manifest, it would be Yavadashray Satta. Because it exists in them, and then but it doesn't. It doesn't exist in anyone. The Madanakya Mahabhava of Radhika only exists in Radhika and not in anyone else. And therefore the term is there, Yavasrai Vritti, that the function of her bhav can vyapt, it can completely pervade those who are close enough to see and hear. Sakhis also become pervaded if they are there, but they don't have the chance to be there at the very intimate moments. So Manjaris have the Seva Saubhagya, greater opportunities. Achha. Let's see. I have to be not so ambitious. Skip some things. Achha. So this is enough theoretical things. Yeah? How Rupa Goswami has described it. One day, see Krishna, he was with Madhumanga. Radhika had sent a letter to Krishna, revealing her heart. But Krishna said, oh, these gopis, they are against dharma. And I am a pakka brahmachari. I reject. And Radhika's heart was broken. She said, how will I live? How will I live? Then Krishna, afterwards he thought, oh, I wanted to do Prem pariksha, to test her love by this rejection. But I think she must be suffering so much now. So let me also write a letter in return. So Krishna went with Madhumanga to the Praskandan Tirtha. Just by, now you know, Dwadashaditya Tila, Madan Mohan temple. And then down at the bottom of the Dwadashaditya Tila, that area there, my Bhajan Kutir is there, Praskandan Tirtha. The first place of Radha Krishna's, their first meeting. So Krishna was there with Madhumanga, and he was composing a letter to Radhika. At that moment, he saw, all the birds have become restless. All the birds are calling and flying here and there. He saw that the whole forest was changing color, and the forest became golden. And Krishna, he was vismit, struck with wonder. Krishna, he could not remember, who am I, where am I? And he said, Eisha nantika vartini suragire ilaviti ahantabu agre kim kalayami kanchana racham udgara gauri disha amgyatam maninupura dwani barad ali janalankrita kanti nam kuladevata vilasitum vrindatavim vindati. He said to Madhumanga, where am I? Where am I? Did I get lost and come to Ilavritavash? Ilavritavash is a place, it is on one side of the golden mountain, Sumeru mountain. And when the sun shines, then the light reflects off the gold, and the whole forest in Ilavritavash becomes golden. So Krishna thought, I've become lost, and now I came to Ilavritavash. What is this astonishing golden effulgence everywhere? The Then Krishna said, he has the Sanchari Bhav of Tarka Vitarka. He's trying to decide, am I in Ilavrita-vash or not? Then Amgyatam, no, now I know. I'm not in Ilavrita-vash. Why? Because if anyone will enter Ilavrita-vash, what will happen? They'll turn into a woman. Because Lord Shiva has given one a curse there. You know, there was a king and he was riding his horse. And by accident, he rode into that and he turned into, even his horse was male, turned into female. Huh? So then, Krishna, he was feeling the waves of the amorous love, amorous agitation. So then he realized, oh, I have not turned into, this cannot be a Ilavrita-vash because I'm definitely not feeling like a woman. Amgyatam maninupara, but oh, I know I am not there. I can hear the sound of ankle bells. Of some sakis with the ankle bells are coming. So I think it must be Kanti Namkula Devata, that the goddess of effulgence has come here with her sakis to play in the forest. But what was actually happening? Radhika in her separation is in Mahabhava. Her Mahabhava has overflowed. She's become Prakashita. She's shining. And her Yavadashrai Vritti is going everywhere. And as she's coming, she's turning the whole forest golden. You understand? Before we were discussing some theory. But Rupa Goswami, through his poetry, he showed, well, what actually happens when this Mahabhava appears? The whole forest has become golden. Now, one symptom of Mahabhava is what? Mohadya bhave piyatmadi savam visvaranam sada. You forget everything. So because of Yavadashrai Vritti of Radharani, Krishna forgot who he is, where he is, what he's doing. You see? So Rupa Goswami's his poetry is like this. Every verse he writes, there is the volumes and volumes of the rasa theory is there. But if a person doesn't know the rasa theory, then they cannot even theoretically understand Rupa Goswami. And even if they know the rasa theory, actually they cannot taste it without Vishuddha-sattva. When Vishuddha-sattva comes in the heart, then a person can really appreciate what Rupa Goswami Pad has done. So this is the illustration of how Anurag turns into Mahabhava, Swasamveda Dasha Prakashika and Yavadashrai Vritti. I'll give another small example. When Mahaprabhu was in Gambhira with Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar, he was crying, absorbed in the mood of Radhika. He said, Ye kale baswapane, dekinu bangsi badane, se kale airi tui vairi, ahananda armadan, hari nil morma, dekite na painu, netra bhari. He was relishing a verse of Ramananda Rai. He's saying, in the mood of Radhika, at any time, whether I was awake or even in my dream, when I saw Krishna, immediately when I saw him, at once two enemies came in front of me. Who? Ananda and Madan, Cupid. And these two enemies, that means joy. Joy becomes so ecstatic, she's going to faint. And Madan is the Cupid, the arrows of desire to please Krishna. Also very powerful, and they'll make her faint. So she's saying, these two enemies come before me, Harinila Muraman, and stole my chitta. And so in my whole life, I never filled my eyes with the beauty of Krishna, either when I was awake or even in my dreams. Because whenever I saw him, I would fall unconscious in ecstasy. So I've never seen Krishna. This is so beautiful on so many levels. It's so bad having only one tongue. If I had more tongues, I could tell the different levels all at the same time. Would be amazing, but unfortunately, we are very limited. Very, very limited. But whatever mercy comes by the kindness of Guru and Gauranga, we try to say something. Mahaprabhu was relishing the verse of Jagannath Vallabh Natakam of Srila Ramananda Rai. There, Radhika is crying in separation. Yada yato daivam madhuripu aso lochanapatam tadasmakam cheto madana hatakena ritamabut puna yasmin eksakshanam apidishur eti padavim vadasyamas tasmin akila gatika ratna kachita. Radharani is saying that whenever I tried to meet with Krishna and I saw him for a second, whether I was awake or whether I was in a dream, then Ananda and Cupid would come and attack my mind. And now I am thinking that because I never really had the chance to see him, then if Providence will be kind to me and Krishna will come before me again, once again in my life, then every gatika means the time is divided into moments, and each moment is called a gatika. Then I will be so grateful that I will take sandalwood paste and I'll take jewels and ornaments and necklaces and I will decorate each gatika. I'll be so grateful for time that gave me this fortune that I will give the gift of jewels and diamonds and beautiful earrings and necklaces and everything and decorate the moments of time if I could just see him again. Huh? It's very beautiful. Now, the question is, has Radhika never seen Krishna or not? When Lalita Sakhi is bringing Radhika to meet with Krishna, at that time they're walking through the forest and Krishna is coming. As soon as Radhika sees Krishna, then this happens. Jai Kale Baswapane, Ananda and Madan attack her. That means from the Anurag, Ruddha, she becomes Ruddha Bhav. She rises to the Prem, becomes inflamed. And so, this Ruddha Bhav, it has this quality, Mohadya Bhavepi Atmadi Savam Vismarnam Sada, it makes you forget everything. So then Radhika forgets everything and she's about to faint. Then we know Lalita Sakhi, Durte Brajenda Tanaye Tanu Shushtabamyam. This verse is famous. Rupa Goswami says, Lalita says to Krishna, to Radhika, oh, Krishna is a dirt, he's a rascal. Don't trust him. Don't be submissive to him. So all the verses of Rupa Goswami you can relish in a different way, in a different context. So one context is Krishna has done something wrong. So Lalita is the cautioning Radhika. But another context is this, Krishna has not done anything wrong. And Krishna is perfectly happily coming to meet with Radhika and Radhika is happily coming to meet with Krishna. But because there is the manifestation of Mahabhava and Radhika is about to faint, if Radhika will faint just on seeing Krishna, then Radhika's status will go down. Then Radhika will be like a Chandravali, submissive. If Krishna will just look at Chandravali and say some sweet words, then her legs will tremble. And she's very submissive to him. So, Lalita does not want Radhika to be so easy to attain. Because if she's more difficult to attain, then Krishna will appreciate more, his anurag will increase, and the delay will make him more and more eager. So it's one kind of service. So it's very important that Radhika does not just see Krishna and just melt. She has to show some strength. Otherwise, if she doesn't show some strength, then in their Nikunja Vilas, then Krishna is pleased by Pragalbhata. If the heroine becomes very bold. So if she cannot show Pragalbhata boldness when she's just seeing him, then how will the Pragalbhata come in the Nikunja Lila? Understand? So, Lalita is telling, though Krishna is not being a dirt, he's being okay. We can say, okay. Huh? But she's provoking Radharani. Hey, Durte Brajenda Tanayetana, to make a rasantara. Rasantara means to change the mood. Because she's so ecstatic, she's going to faint, and then that will lower her status. So she criticizes, oh, Krishna is so bad, to make Radhika go into man, into some anger, so that she will not faint in ecstasy and appear to be submissive in front of Krishna. You see? But then, when Radha and Krishna meet, then the Mahabhava manifests. And the next morning, it is like, when this Mahabhava comes, it is like erasing a memory. It erases the memory. Maybe on your computer, maybe you film this class today, and then you download it and you put it on your computer, and then your computer crashes, now it's gone. It's erased. So Radhika goes, she meets with Krishna, and there are beautiful pastimes taking place in Mahabhava. But then afterwards, when she comes back out of that Mahabhava and she's at home, then that is also erased. On the way up, it's erased, and on the way down, it's also erased. So in the morning, Shamala Saki comes and says, oh, I can see from your lip, there's a mark on your lip that you've been relishing some rasa. Huh? Radharani said, oh, not at all. If I admit, if I have met with Krishna, it was like a flash of lightning. All I know is this, that I saw him and we entered into a kunj, and then I saw there was a stage. And upon that stage, there are millions of little cupids all dancing. And that's all I can remember. Huh? So these are some of the anubhavs of Mahabhava. When the Ruddha stage comes, then the memory is erased. And they become lost in that prem. Afterwards, what happened? So then Radhika can cry and say, I never saw Krishna. I never saw him. Because every time, either when I was awake or in a dream, he came before me. From that point, all my memories have been erased. So, which way to go? The ocean is too vast. I'm confused. Acha. Okay, so one more example. Because we'll just finish with one more verse, because we have to run out of time.
I went over the kitchen.
Oh. What to do? Acha. All right, so let's go in this direction. It's a duty. The duty is going backwards and forwards, bringing the messages. He's already in his Swarupa Vesh.
So,
Okay.
don't feel constrained.
Okay. Now, I'll just wind it. Because actually, sometimes less is more. Because you have to digest. Otherwise, it will be coming out of your nose and everywhere. You have to keep to digest, huh? Baba. When Lalita Sakhi calms Radhika down, she calms Radhika down. So then the great manifestation of the bhavs is little concealed a little. Then Radhika manifests a contrary mood. This is very important to understand. That Aham bhakta pradino yashvatanta ivaja. Krishna says, I am under the control of the love of my devotee. But he's reciprocating, yayatamam prapadyante. So Krishna is under the control of the love of the devotee, and the devotee is under the control of Krishna's love. This is true in all the rasas, but not in Madhurya-rasa. In Madhurya-rasa, Krishna comes under the control of the devotee's love, but the devotee isn't under Krishna's control. Why? Because of chapalata, restlessness, because of bhamyata, contrariness, because of avahita bhav. They want to be under control, but they're hiding it also. Man, there are so many characteristics in Madhurya-rasa, which means that Krishna is under control, but his naika, his beloved, is not under control. But when Prem goes up to the stage of anurag, then in the high level of anurag, there's a symptom, paraspara vasibhav atishay. Rupa Goswami Pad gives the example, Radhika was searching everywhere in the forest for Krishna. Krishna was searching everywhere in the forest for Radhika. And just by chance, as Krishna came out of one kunj, Radhika came out of another kunj, they met face to face. Just suddenly by chance. And they immediately just embraced each other. The tamal tree was embraced by the champakalata, by the swarnalata. So that is the example of paraspara vasibhav atishay, the symptom of high level anurag, where there's a great increase in the rasa caused by the realization, I am under your control, you're under my control. Now they become so harmonized together. So that is very beautiful. So, but before that, there's so much contrariness. So when you see the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, it is essentially when Radha Krishna come to meet, that's a special circumstance. But generally she comes and the contrary bhav is there. And gradually through the conversation, through the pastimes, through Krishna's various provocations and so on, and the guidance of the Sakhis, Radhika's contrariness is melting. And then Praspara Vasibhav comes. They're under the control of each other. And the Anurag turns into Mahabhava. Anurag turns into Mahabhava. Krishna is not kami. Is not lusty. Krishna is premi. He only wants to taste prem. He wants to taste prem, which is in the heart of his devotees. But because, as we have discussed, the speciality of Mahabhava here is that the prem in the chitta of the gopis overflows into all their senses and overflows into their body, and their whole bodies become one with the swarup of prem. So because Krishna is not kami, is not lusty, he's premi, he only wants to taste love. But the bodies of the Braj Gopis have become one with that love, so Krishna wants to taste the bodies of Braj Gopis. Understand? And that's why this pastime looks like calm. It looks like lust, but it's not lust at all. It has nothing to do with lust. It is so far away. It is the diametrically opposed. It is the absolute antithesis of anything but lust. It is completely pure. Na pareyam niravadya samyujam. Niravadya samyujam means our meeting is immaculate, spotless. You see? And this is why they said, Premaiva goparamanam kama ityabhagamat pranam. The prem of the gopis has become famous as calm because it seems like an amorous pastime. But the reason is that they have come in the stage of Mahabhava, and they are Mahabhava Swarup. So the actual meeting of Krishna with the gopis directly is itself Krishna tasting prem. Understand? And so when then Mahabhava comes, then the confidential pastimes can begin. But before that, the contrariness is there, and Krishna has to work his way through the obstacle course of all the various obstacles. And this is also very sweet. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad is saying, when Radha Krishna meet together, then Lalita will hand over Radhika to Sri Krishna. Then Krishna impetuously, he grabs Srimati Radhika. And as soon as he comes to forcibly embrace her, Lalita pulls Radhika back and puts her behind. What are you doing? Yeah? No intelligent person would give a delicate lotus flower to a wild elephant. Huh? You can give the delicate lotus flower to a gentle bumblebee who will come and taste the nectar. But if you give to a wild elephant, they'll crush it. So this is Krishna. Finally, the Sakhis have come. They've bought Radharani and they hand over Radharani. But because Krishna's eagerness is too much, Lalita, no. Pulls him back. Tells Krishna, be gentle. Be calm. Our Sakhi is so soft and tender. Vasanti vasanti kushumasu kumai vairiyave. She's more delicate than the petals of a jasmine. Sometimes the manjaris, a manjari will make a bed of jasmine flowers. And after Radhika has rested on that and she sits up, she has the imprint of every petal on her soft, Gaurange Mardimas Bite Madhurna, on her soft body. Then Rupa Manjari tells that manjari, don't use this type of jasmine again. This type is not good. You should use more soft type of jasmine. So Radhika is very komal, very delicate and very tender. So then again Lalita offers Radhika to Krishna. And Krishna tries to catch the hand of Radhika. At that time, Radhika manifests some contrariness. So Brinda Sakhi, she's saying, Bru Beda Smrita Sambrito Nahi Nahi Yukti Madena Akula Vishwantuddati Pani Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi Shushkam Tata Krandanam Shishto Ya Sakiradaya Muhurayam Sangopano Pakramo Bhavastena Ridistito Muradabi Vyakta Samanta Dabut. The meaning is that, oh, just look at Radharani. When Krishna is approaching her, Brubeda, she has a brubed. That means her eyebrows become crooked. She frowns. What is this? That is called asammati vyanjaka. Vyanjak means revealing, and asammati means disapproval, disagreement. So her eyebrows are doing the asammati vanjaka, expressing her disapproval and disagreement. But as her eyebrows are frowning, her cheeks are starting to be puffed up because a smile is spreading across her face at the same time. So brubeda smrita sambrito, her eyebrows are saying asammati. But because her cheeks are starting to spread with a smile, her cheeks are saying paramasammati. I completely approve, I completely agree. Eyes are saying, I disapprove, and mouth is saying, yes, yes, I approve. Then, nahi nahi juktir madena kula. Radhika, she puts up her hand and says, nahi nahi, nahi. Na means not, he means absolutely. Absolutely not, absolutely not. So by her words, she's saying absolutely not. That means nishad. Nishad means forbidden. It is prohibited and forbidden. Nahi, nahi. But as she's saying nahi, nahi, because she's in ecstasy, it's very hard to say, because if you're in ecstasy, the voice chokes at nahi, nahi, nahi. So she's in so much ecstasy that the words nahi, nahi are coming out in a broken way. So that indicates not nishad, it is forbidden. But it is paramavidi. This is an absolute rule. It is mandatory. You must do this. So nahi nahi means nishad, forbidden. But the tone of the voice says paramavidhi. Yes, yes, this is absolutely mandatory. So then, Vishwan that Ipani Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi. Radharani puts up her hands to defend herself. So putting up the hands to defend yourself, that is called anabhishtam. Abhisht is what you want, and anabhisht is, no, I don't want. I don't want this. But her hands are lacking in audatya. Audatya means boldness. If you really want to stop someone and, there's force. There's force in the gesture. But there's no force in Radhika's gesture. In fact, it's kind of slack and lazy, and she has a exhaustion. It's like she exhausted because the alasya, the exhaustion, the glani. Glani is one of the symptoms, the sanctuary bhavs of ecstasy. So because she's in ecstasy that Krishna is approaching her, she puts up her hands to show anabhistam. This is undesirable. But because the resistance is so soft and weak and exhausted, then it indicates to Krishna paramabhishta. Yes, yes, this is the most desirable thing. Go on, go on. So shushkam tata krandanam. Shushkam tata krandanam means, and she's crying. Oh. But she's crying, but dry crying. Weeping, but without any tears. So weeping that indicates the dukkha vanjakam. If someone is crying, means you're giving me suffering, you're giving me distress. But because she's crying, but no tears, then this indicates the shuddhatva. Krishna, your behavior, it is not anuchit, it is not improper, it's very proper. Yes, yes. So Brinda Devi is saying, bhavastena ridistito murabidi vyakta samantadabhut. So, samantadabhut. So the meaning is that all the Sakhis and the Manjaris who are watching, because the Manjaris can watch this, the Sakhis can also watch, because it's just like a Surata Aramba, the beginning of the loving pastimes. When the loving pastimes are just beginning, they can see something, but then they will go. And the Manjaris will stay. So all the Sakhis, they're seeing this and relishing. Oh, just see how beautiful it is that the more Radharani Sangopanopakramam, the more Radharani tries to hide her bhav, the more that bhav is revealed. She's trying her best to hide it, but the more she tries to hide it, the more it's manifests outside to everyone. So I want to touch one more verse of Srila Rupa Goswami to illustrate our discussion. We were discussing Radha-tattva. Acha, where will it go? Where will we go? We didn't touch Madan Bhav yet. Madan Bhav has not been touched yet. We've only discussed Ruddha. And then Adi Ruddha is something else. Another level. Because Ruddha means elevated. Essentially, in Ruddha Bhav, Anurag has become the object of its own experience. But Adi, the word Adi means having as its object. So Adi Ruddha Bhav means it's the next level up. In other words, the Bhav that has Ruddha Bhav as its object. So first, Anurag becomes the object of its own experience and becomes Ruddha Bhav, and then the next level comes which has that Ruddha Bhav as the object of its own experience. So you have another adhyatmic perspective, looking upon the perspective that was looking at the perspective. That is Adi Ruddha Bhav. So in Adi Ruddha Bhav, in that state, there is extreme separation even at the time of meeting. Complete. There is complete experience of meeting and complete experience of separation when the Ruddha Bhav becomes the object of its own experience. So it's a Swasamvedya Dasha on the next level. And then within that, there is Modan, Mohan, and in the end, Madan. So what Madan is another, it's impossible to even touch that this evening. So I'll just give one last point. Now, it's hopeless for Radhika to hide her feeling. She tried to, when Krishna was trying to approach her, she tried to express her disapproval. She tried to forbid Krishna. She tried to say, oh, this is suffering for me. But simultaneously, she was revealing the opposite. And it became impossible to hide. So now Radhika's submissiveness has melted away. And their beautiful, loving pastimes can begin. At that time, Sakhis are watching. Vishaka Sakhi said, Shashi Vyomat Sangam Shashinam Abhita Kantilahari Puro Brindaranyam Sumukhi Sahasa Kantilaraharim Hare Brindaranyam Harim Apikaleya Tavasaki Sakhim Premna Puro Nijasu Mai Andayadayam. Just the general meaning. She's saying, look at the moon. Look at the moon in the sky. How beautiful is this moon? But this moon is beautified by its rays. There are rays emanating from the moon, and those rays are shimmering. They're trembling. And they're making the moon look more beautiful. And these shimmering rays emanating from the moon, they are more beautiful. Kanti lahari. Kanti means the effulgence, and lahari means waves. There are waves of beautiful effulgence. Puro brindaranyam sumakisa sa kantila harim. But just as these waves of effulgence are making the moon look beautiful, these waves of effulgence themselves look more beautiful. Why? Because of the effulgence of the forest of Vrindavan. Brindaranyam sumukhi sasa kantila harim. Hari brindaranyam harim apikileya tapasaki. And the forest of Vrindavan, it looks more beautiful. Why? Because Hari, Krishna, is here in the forest of Vrindavan. And the waves of Krishna's beauty is making the forest of Vrindavan more beautiful. Apikileyam tavasaki sakim premna puro. And Krishna himself, he looks more beautiful. Why? Because of the waves of beauty. The Ujjvala kanti emanating from the golden form of Radhika is making Krishna more beautiful. And sakim premna puro nija susamayan dayadayam. And our Saki Shrimati Radharani, she looks more beautiful. Why? Because of waves of Prem coming from her. And the Prem, nothing makes that look more beautiful. The Prem is doing everything. You know what he said? Krishna ranachaya Prem, Bhakta ranachaya, Apinanachaya Tinanachaya Katai. Prem makes Krishna dance, Prem makes his devotee, makes Radharani dance also. And Prem itself dances, and all three dance together. So in this chain reaction of beauty, it stops where? Prem. And so Prem, Krishna is not the Prayojan. Radharani is not the Prayojan. Radha Krishna is not the Prayojan. What is the Prayojan? Prem Prayojan. Just so I don't forget this, Gurudev just stamped it on my forehead. Your name is Prem Prayojan. Don't forget what the goal is. So here, this poetry is so beautiful. What is this poetry describing? Yavadashvaibriti, right? You see, it just looks like a beautiful poem about the forest and the moon and the trees. And Rupa Goswami is describing Yavadashvaibriti. Because here, the love in the heart of Radhika is spreading, and she becomes Ujjvala, more beautiful. It spreads to Krishna, Krishna becomes more beautiful. It spreads from Krishna, the whole Vrindavan becomes more beautiful. And it spreads into the sky, and the rays of the moon become more beautiful, and the moon becomes more beautiful. So this is why Brindadeva, Ramananda has taught this verse to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Radhaya bhavatasta chitta jatani sweda vilapya kramat yunja nadri nikunja kundrapate niduta bheda brahman. Then Sanvaryad ya brahman the ho hamodare bhuyo bin avaya raga ingala barai singara karyukati. There is an artist called Radha-rasa, and he's an artist because he's painted, he's decorated the inner walls of the palace of the universe. What does that mean? It means when the Sakis see Radha and Krishna, other people, they will not see it. If Kamsa is immature, he's not looking at the sky and thinking, wow, the moon's really special tonight. Huh? But the effect of Mahabhava on the Sakis who are watching, and they're seeing that the artist of Radha-rasa is painting the whole universe. Sanjadiha Brahman Daham Udare. The whole universe has become beautiful. So it's like this. We can give an example. If you go to like a European garden, and now I see also in India sometimes, they have a fountain, and this fountain is one of these, layers, the layer fountains, where you have like a big bowl at the bottom, and then there's another layer, smaller, and then another one, and one at the top. The water is coming out, up, and it's filling the top. part, and then it flows down, and then it fills the next layer, then it overflows and fills the next layer, then it overflows. You've seen these fountains. This type of fountain is very classical type. So, Yavadashray Vritti of Radhika, of Rudabhav, is like this, and the Sakhis are seeing. Rupa Goswami is very poetic, so he's telling it, but he's telling it backwards, right? He starts with the moon, so it will be a big surprise that the realization will come. He's describing the Mahabhava. So he starts with the moon, but actually you have to read the verse backwards. That Radhika's Mahabhava is overflowing in Yavadashray Vritti, making her more beautiful, then making Krishna more beautiful, making the forest of Vrindavan more beautiful, making the sky beautiful, and making the moon more beautiful. And one person is missing from this, the Sakhi who's speaking. But she's the one who is experiencing this beauty, and therefore, Radha Nagara Keli Sagara Nimagnali Yata Tatsukam, we told on the first day, that the happiness experienced by the eyes of the Sakhis when they see the meeting of Radha and Krishna, it is like a vast ocean. And even all the happiness that Krishna experiences in every universe, in all leelas and all incarnations, is not even a drop in the ocean experienced by the eyes of the Sakhis when they see the meeting of Radha and Krishna. This is the Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi. So this is our Prayojan. Those who have come in this line of Srila Rupa Goswami, they are so fortunate. So we should try to fix our Prayojan, our goal of life, and adopt everything that we can, which is favorable for that. And in the anugatya of Gurudev and pure Vaishnavas, then surely samarpayitum unnata ujjvala-rasam swabhakti sriyam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give that gift that was never given before, Radha Dasyam. Bhage Vrindavan Bihari Lala ki jai, Varasani Wali ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe.